The body is one of my most enlightening teachers and a favorite place to look for answers, often providing literal pathways for exploring metaphors and all that they have to offer us. Nature is another extraordinary teacher, always revealing nuance, pattern, and possibility, encouraged by diversity and adaptability. Nature knows and shows us that diversity and adaptability are real sources of our wealth, our health, and our thriving. When we are paying attention to both, to our bodies alive in and with nature, we cannot help but feel awareness of our interconnectedness. And this is the sort of resiliency that I invite us to explore together this morning. The resiliency that is born from awareness of our interconnectedness, our interbeing, and of the web of existence of which we are a part. The Reverend Dr. Howard Thurman, mystic, theologian, and beloved wacky uncle of Dr. King, bequeathed us with his insights on this topic. And I want to open into it by sharing this story from him, the story of the apples. Thurman offers, some years ago, a farmer gave 2 apples to a friend of mine. Each apple had a deep scar extending from the stem halfway around the circumference. The scar was marked by shriveled apple flesh. The rest of the apple had grown, rounded out, but the dead place remained. And the story the farmer told my friend was this. When the apples were very young on the trees, a hailstorm bruised them deeply. The apples did not rot. They did not fall off the tree. They did live. It was as if they decided to absorb as much as possible of the violence of the hailstorm and go on with the business of self-realization. The world is full of people who are like the apples. It is the greatest tribute to personality that the original impulse of life assumes that each manifestation of life will have enough inner strength at its disposal to fight its battles. A part of the business of living is to get better tools and to increase tool technique, but the fundamental assumption remains. Thank you, Dr. Thurman. The first time I encountered this story from him, I needed to hear it. I was longing for it. I needed to be told that I already have what it takes to heal and to grow and to go on with the business of living and of self-realization. I loved this assumption. And I stay grateful for it every time I encounter an infuriating, seemingly insurmountable problem, and I remember to engage this bit of wisdom before doing anything else. This story, for me, begins as an invitation to pause and turn inwards. Next, it asks me to assume I already have the tools and resources I need. And then I may take stock of my stores. If I already have what I need to heal, to grow, to solve a dilemma, but I don't know how to go about getting there from here, then Thurman's story teaches me that I can creatively sidestep towards a solution by changing the question that prepares the way. So what is it that I need in order to solve this problem becomes, what is it that I already have? What simple tools are at my disposal? With which tool techniques am I most competent and skillful? There were years before I encountered the story of the apples when I was sure the answers were way outside of myself. And rather than explore my inner landscape or otherwise peruse my toolbox, I was instead waiting to be rescued. Or if I'm feeling generous with myself, waiting to be really seen, to be known. This is one of the sources of hope I have come to believe in and rely on. When we are seen for who we really are, for all the possibilities present in us, for all that we might become, hope pours forth. If the answers are outside of me and I don't know what they are or where to look, that's hard, too hard. When the answers are inside of me, then at least I have my next steps. Turn inwards, look around the cave of the heart, dwell, linger, listen, practice, try. It is upon me to be my own source of hope by seeing myself for who I truly am, with all the possibilities of life alive within me. And sometimes I fail at that. But I remain convinced that hope is necessary for real resilience. Hope puts a spring in our step, contributing to our bounce and our bounce back. Sometimes we use a rubber band as a metaphor for discussing resilience. It's easily oversimplified. The rubber band demonstrates resilience by stretching and then returning to its previous shape with ease. But let's complicate things. Or at least let's embrace the existing complexity. Have you ever put a rubber band in the freezer? Later removing it, perhaps carefully separating it from the bag of frozen peas it's containing. And instead of resuming its former shape, it just stays in that overly stretched position, kind of floppy rather than elastic. With time, it may come to room temperature and assume some of its previous elasticity, once again becoming useful in ways it's been before, or not. And it is anyone's guess whether that rubber band is going to make a full recovery. All we can do is wait, wonder, and observe. Similarly, when a human being is overly stretched and left in the cold, they may or may not assume their previous shape and functionality. If you've been injured, you know it's true. We don't heal back to what or where we were. We heal forwards to the next place, often arriving there with unexpected gifts and challenges. What helps us navigate the new reality? Non-judgment, non-expectation, and awareness, yes, but also patience, wonder, and observation. If you are looking around for what you've lost, you'll never be able to appreciate what's there for the finding. Waiting, wondering, and observing are all key to practicing shared resilience. And sometimes we only begin to practice in this way when an injury or something else we've survived leaves us so vulnerable that we must ask for help. When we've absorbed as much as we can of the violence of the hailstorm and determined to go on with the business of living, but we know enough to know we cannot do it alone. Now maybe you've already landed on the next gem, the next morsel of wisdom embedded in our story. It's hidden right there in plain sight. I lived with this story for years before I noticed it. The apples are individual survivors when the farmer shows them to his friend. And the individual apples had all they needed, and they pulled their little apple selves up by their itty-bitty apple bootstraps. But when they're young, when they're baby apples adapting and being resourceful as they survive the hailstorm, those apples are on the tree. Not distinct from it, not other than it, not individuals, but part of a whole. And that's how they know to muddle through, to hold on, to live. Our belonging to the whole is part of the knowledge ingrained and available to us, insisting the answers are built right in, if only we'll remember, if only we'll rely on our interconnectedness and let it be a guide. In The Resilience Myth, New Thinking on Grit, Strength, and Growth After Trauma, Soraya Shamali offers, no one is resilient alone at all times and in all situations. Resilience is a dynamic process, and it is healthier and more accurate to say that we take turns being resilient for one another. You rest, I've got this. It's my turn, it's your turn. I'm here when you're ready for the handoff. Collective resilience is sturdy stuff. Suppleness and strength, rest and resistance. These qualities conspire and function relationally to foster our shared resiliency. The resiliency of individuals is real, and it matters to the whole. These are not either or, and they're not oppositional, but too often we only recognize the individual's ability to bounce back, while failing to notice or appreciate collective resiliency. We have a shared responsibility and opportunity to tend and nurture our collective resilience. Doing this requires awareness. My ability to lend you my resiliency is dependent upon self-awareness and self-knowledge alive in relationship to collective awareness and shared knowledge. Awareness is at the heart of so many practices that support and sustain healthy communities. The Buddhist nun, author, and philosopher Pema Chodron offers us this insight. Only to the extent that we expose ourselves over and over to annihilation can that which is indestructible be found in us. You can hear those words as describing the resilience of the individual, and you can hear those same words describing shared resilience. How did you just receive it? I'm going to read it one more time, and I invite you to stretch your hearing as you're able to reach the message you missed the first time. Only to the extent that we expose ourselves over and over to annihilation can that which is indestructible be found in us. There is something eternal in you, in me, and in us. We are all interconnected. We are interbeing. We are one. Hope pours forth from our ability to practice awareness, to look around, to see ourselves and one another in the glorious fullness of our potential. All that we are and all that we might be, our brimming with possibility. Resilience is a shared practice, a shared resource, and a shared responsibility. May we join hands. May we take turns. May we ask for help when we need it. May we offer help when we're able, and may we be guided and comforted as we continue to realize and uncover the unexplored reaches of our collective resilience together. Amen. Amin. Ashe.